But it's egg time. It's
How's
egg, everybody.
going, squishies?
There's no about to. Anime onlys, get lost or get spoiled. The eggs are in the kitchen. We'll go through bit by bit. We won't jump ahead this time. And when we reach the anime only part, or the manga only part, we'll tell you.
Mama, you have to talk about Buggy and the Cross Guild. I think you didn't mention. Yeah, it's fine. We're in 10,058. All is well.
We'll talk about it today. Let's go. Let's get started.
All is well, Jojo Fabrice.
How do we feel about Emperor Buggy?
Well, first of all, I feel exactly the way that I thought that I would feel when I got there, because I was like, no shitting way that he is an emperor. Everybody can suck clown toes. And it turns out, no, I was right. He isn't. He's a big old beat up mess. Why? Because he's wrong.
As far as the anime is at the point where Lucci was like, hey, Straw Hat, you mind letting me out of these chains and I'll help you carve up some of them little angel guys. And Luffy goes, you gonna betray me? And he goes, nah. And Luffy's like, I think we should do it, Zoro.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You and I should do more voice acting in here from now on.
We are fiction's greatest voice actor. We
see Dracula Mihawk sitting in, pulling up poor Buggy's hair, and no, that's Crocodile. I lied. And I was like, oh shit, did that boy take credit for shit? And he did. It turns out, yeah, exactly as one would think, he took credit for shit. But it's nice to have Mr. 3 and Crocodile back in the same group, hey? I like it.
They're working together again.
It just feels so right that we get to see Mr. 3 back with the gang, but not trying to undermine a government as a shadow government, which is ironic since we are fully into our shadow government phase.
Hey, that's sorry. While that wasn't a spoiler, I will say
it was also a spoiler.
Anime only. That's anime only.
Excuse me. I'm playing Jin now. I have the right to, since I'm ahead of people.
I'm not going to correct you. You know what the stopping point is now? You get to play Jin. Fucking vaguely hinted stuff. You're in her shoes now, motherfuckers. Woohoo! You're no longer on my team anymore. You've been on my team with the Jin shit this whole time, and now you anime onlys are at the what do you call it? The sharp end of the joke.
The Jin phase, the sharp end of the Jin. Okay, so we talked to our dudes who are government shadowing. I don't know, whatever. And we see the history of what's happening with Mihawk having to leave and having the conversation with Crocodile. And I was thinking to myself, this is a thing I never knew that I was missing in my life, but a Crocodile Mihawk pair up? Yeah.
Something that we talked about on the phone, but that we haven't addressed on stream yet, is how fucking lucky Crocodile is that Buggy is here.
Exactly what I was like. In terms of distrust for others, we have at least one thing in common already. Captain Buggy, turn around and fight. Are you afraid of the Navy? Oh, I was thrilled for cross-guilding. I think more people need to have a cross-guild time. It kind of reminds me of what I was saying about Luffy anyways, that I think that he was going to take some people that are fighting on the opposite side and drag them over to his side, because he does it with people before who are like Crocodile and like Buggy. But I think it's going to be on a more permanent basis soon. And I honestly don't think that Shanks is taking off into the New World to get the One Piece. If you want my theory on that, and you obviously do because you're here, I think that he's instead going there to kind of create a barrier to support Luffy, because I think that Shanks is in the belief that the next generation is coming up and it's time to help them move in. I felt very, very bad for Buggy. I now see why people are obsessed with Crocodile and obsessed with Buggy, because I didn't know how deep back into the place they were going to come and how they were going to have so much importance.
Not actually know, because people were so obsessed with them way before this happened.
They're so obsessed.
Yeah, no. The obsession has not increased at all since this happened. Like, it was the obsession with Buggy and Crocodile was well and strong way before this.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons he decided to do this cross guild.
I could see it. I'm gonna be frank. I'm gonna be frank with everybody. I know everybody loves Crocodile, and I think he's a great, scary villain. I think he's unironically a bit of a Saturday morning cartoon villain for me, and I don't find him that compelling.
Oh, I love a Saturday morning cartoon villain. It's kind of the way that I like Luffy, because he's a Saturday morning hero in some ways.
He is. I think I get the love for Crocodile. I think Crocodile looks at Dofi and is like, oh shit, I could have been that.
Okay, well, I look at Crocodile and I
He's a
think
bit of a bog
Gargamel
villain.
could.
You're right. He's more
I
of a
think to
bog
myself, Gargamel could never.
villain. It's so true, honestly.
And so I adore.
I think Croc was so essential for where he was in One Piece, and I just think we've moved past him now. But when we do our One Piece's political video, we've had an observation about the villains in One Piece that change after Croc, like before Croc and after Croc, there's a difference. And because of how much I like symbolic and thematic writing, it makes sense that I like the villains who come after better.
I also think that Croc is going to go through another development phase right now.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we're about to see another change. And so I think that I'm going to enjoy Croc because it's almost like when I think of Croc in Alabasta and then in Impel Down and now, every time Croc comes into the story in any significant way, we have a complete change of story.
That's true.
And so it's almost like he's using him as like a bookmark.
He's only been
And
used
so I
at
like
turning
that for
points
us.
of the story. That,
Yeah,
you know what? You've made him a lot more compelling for me.
yeah. That's how I see him. I see him as a turning point character. Okay, here we go. I just had to have a little sip of my healthy smoothie. Okay.
Yeah. Also, you guys are right. You can read a lot more into Croc than what's on paper, in which case he also looks at Kaido and says, oh, I could have been that. Oh.
Oh, burn! And yet, here we are with Croc not sucking as bad. If I had Croc's powers, I would suck way more, I think.
You think you'd be worse?
If I was also a villain, I could do worse.
So
I think
if you were a bad guy with Croc's powers, you think you'd do worse than him?
I had a question for Mihawk and Crocodile. If Buggy hadn't have been there, then who would you have put in the center of the Cross Guild? You would have had to fight each other. He actually did you a favor.
Well,
when I was thinking of this thing, I was like, are you stupid? A, you get to put Buggy out at the head, which you eventually realized, and keep yourselves in the kind of background, and therefore avoid some of the bigger pieces and problems that come with that. And B, what were you going to, Rochambeau to see who is going to be in the center? Like, come the shit on. Putting him in the center does everything.
And let's be frank, Mihawk doesn't have to worry about this. Croc, if Buggy weren't here, you'd be the weak one who's super outclassed by the other dude. You know that, right? You only get to look strong because Buggy's here. You would look like the weakling leader if Buggy weren't here.
Yeah, no, they were straight out frontin' if they thought that they could get away with just having the Cross Guild. Because Mihawk, like I know that Crocodile convinced Mihawk, Hawkeye to be a part of this, but out of the two of them, who do you think is going to win?
But then, on top of that, you look at a lot of emperors, like let's look at Blackbeard. What does Blackbeard have? He has charisma, he has cunning, and he has power. Okay, what if we take one of the world's strongest people, one of the world's smartest planners, and one of the world's most charismatic leaders and team up? That's crazy. Buggy's giving you guys a huge asset. You are basically getting, like, I think Mihawk is stronger than Blackbeard at the moment. I think that Crocodile's a better planner and like, not necessarily, I think Blackbeard's the best schemer, but I think as far as like logistical thinking, Croc is better than Blackbeard.
Well, fame and power.
And charisma, and Buggy's gotten an army so easily.
Yes.
They together outmatch Blackbeard. On their own, none of these fuckers could stand up to him.
Exactly. And also, if you think about it, you've got somebody who likes to have mystery. Mihawk is never going to be like, oh, put me out front, coach, I'm ready to play. And then you have somebody who had kind of a big spanking from Luffy in the early days, not now Luffy, like early effing Luffy.
Granted,
and it's not like you've awakened since. Well, you've gotten stronger.
I think he's probably developed hockey because his will has been brought back because he
absolutely has, but I don't think he's awakened. And so Cross Guild is the perfect thing for it. And on top of it, tell me Cross Guild isn't one of the sickest names in history for anything.
So good.
It's so good.
And the idea of putting bounties on Marines is such a clever idea. Holy
so
fuck.
Good.
How the
so good.
Tables.
You're like, oh, really? Oh, you're going to put bounties on us? What if we put those bounties in it? Like, I can't even. And then if you have two cross swords with the thing in the middle and Cross Guild, that is a tattoo and a half. People all over the world are looking at that right now and they're thinking to themselves, damn, that poster's going up in my bedroom. Little kids want to become pirates because of Cross Guild.
Also, okay, this is fucking nothing's brief. This is just a little detour, but people are talking about how, like, when we're talking about Luffy kicking his ass, think about how much stronger Lucci is. I think people get stronger when Luffy beats them, very specifically because One Piece isn't a series where power levels are at all meant to be static. They fluctuate up and down a lot. Because as you harden your resolve, you get stronger, and as you give up on your dreams, you get weaker. Like, it is because hockey is your source of power, even when you're not actively manipulating it, it makes you stronger and weaker. If you begin to give up on your dreams and be like Croc, who's like, I can't do it myself, I need a big weapon to stand a chance, he gets weaker for that. And believing in himself and trying harder will make him stronger. That's how it works in One Piece. Like, hardening your resolve, having something to believe in, just makes you for real stronger. Gecko Moria comes to mind. People are saying in chat, absolutely. Because Gecko Moria was able to at least fight, if not beat, fight Kaido. And now he was beat up by Luffy because his dreams were broken. He no longer believed in himself. He believed he needed something else. And we see almost every pre-time skip opponent Luffy has is someone who believes that they are not enough. That is so consistent in everyone he fights, is people who believe they are not enough to make it in the world, and they need something else to make them get there. I mean, Anel needs the Arc Maxim. The thing with Anel is, more than him not believing in himself, his weakness was just the guy was made of rubber. Anel's a weird exception. I'm also going to say Lucci's kind of an exception to that, because he doesn't believe... Lucci's weird because it's not like he believed he wasn't enough. It's just that he didn't care that much. He just wanted to kill people. He wasn't like hyper motivated ever. He wasn't like, oh, I need something to achieve my dreams. His dreams were just killing people. It wasn't until someone kicked his ass that he had the motivation to get good, because he was like, yeah, I just like murder. I just want to be strong and murder people.
Let's go back, because we need to not move.
We're people.
We need to talk directly about this, because we're not allowed to move ahead, because people need to read the manga. I'm not pointing any fingers, Duck. Okay, here we go. First of all, I was so excited to have the conversation about Sabo, who we have been waiting about for 750,000 freaking years. And watching them have our boy Kuma there, shit's not going to get better, is it? Like, the Kuma thing is going to hit me so hard, and I'm not happy, and I've been trying to think about what's going to happen with Kuma, besides the fact that his daughter is probably dying. Oh, I wonder if that will bring him back to life in a way. We'll see. Anyways, seeing them with them and then Sabo calling, I was like, oh, yay, they're going to get to find out everything about what's going on, and we'll finally know what happened to Sabo. It being the thing that ends up absolutely decimating and having them completely destroy an entire people. Are you shitting my face?
Bye, Lucia. For those
and also finding out, I just want to say that finding out that T-Bone died was really upsetting. That was really, really upsetting.
The milkmaid survived.
Oh, well, there you go. The milkmaid survived. Oh, okay, everything's good now. We have milk. Got milk? Yeah. Got country? No.
She joined the Revolutionary Army, so she's okay.
Got country? Got milk? Got milk. Got milk. My country's a hole in the ocean.
Oh my God, we can't do this. We can't spiral into politics, but I will say that I think Oda's making an accurate observation that the only people who survived Lucia were not the people who went along with the government's will and didn't know what was happening. It was the people who joined a cause to fight against them because they knew they were corrupt, and only those people were saved from the brutality of the government, and the people who didn't raise up arms to fight oppression were destroyed by it. That feels so intentional.
Yeah, I would agree. That feels very intentional. Let's just have a little mo for Ace. I see you, Ace. To be fair, I see Ace because he points at me all the time when I'm on stream, because I make him point at me, because the two of us are in cahoots making a thing happen. But when Phoenix of Joy says, I'm sure Ace is delighted to see how much you've grown, and Luffy laughs and goes, you think so? That was, to me, that was such a special moment. Just made my whole heart be like, ah. I'm also thrilled that we went back to see Hancock. I won't say why, because I won't say it. That's why. And then when we go in and we see the little human being and we say to ourselves, self, that little human being reminds me of something. And she is very bad. I want to talk about it now, but I can't. You want to know why? Because you haven't caught up reading. So then we move forward.
Well, there's parts... What she is known to anime onlys at this point, that she's a seraphim.
Oh. Her being Seraphim is, and them doing, no, we can't. Anyways, okay. Let's move forward.
Seraphim talk is being delayed. Sorry, frogs.
I was so proud of Miss Hancock for her, I follow no man's orders. That's right, baby. You don't. And just being like standing up face to face with all the little hers and the Blackbeards and taking people down. That shit was a wild fight. Boa Hancock's toughness is beyond anything that we could have imagined. I love that she's just like, oh, okay. How about if I just freeze you all? Hey?
Yeah, the only
What
dude
if
who doesn't
everyone
get one
was
shot
freezing?
by her. The only person who doesn't get one shot is the person who shuts off her devil fruit. Everyone else is done.
Fine. What if all of you could just fuck right off? Otherwise, you don't get. Whoa, I feel strongly about this. Otherwise, you don't get your people back. How about that?
No, Boa played this so well. I think she's unironically a fantastic leader.
She is. And I'm very concerned for her that she doesn't. And I'm also concerned for her that isn't her about her love for Luffy, because it's probably not going to happen. He doesn't really seem into relationships.
I also want to note that this whole scene plays so much in with my reading of Blackbeard, where one of his most dangerous traits is how much he's willing to pivot when a plan doesn't work, because he doesn't get Boa's fruit like he wanted. Okay, well, I'm going to take this kid as a hostage. Bye.
Yeah, he does pivot very, very well. And
because
I was
Rayleigh's
also
not going to stand up for this fucking Marine kid.
Watching Rayleigh come in here, though, and I was like, why is Rayleigh always here? And then, boom, we find out that Shockey used to be a former Amazon Lily Empress. You're like, Rayleigh has very, very deep connections to this place.
Which is also why he was able to get there to help Luffy.
I might have missed this in a previous stream, Mama, but what are your thoughts on BB's connection, Blackbeard's connection to X-Beck?
Zebek.
I like Quebec better, so that's what I'm calling it.
Okay. Rox D. Zebek was the guy who had a crew that had Whitebeard, Shiki, Kaido, Bigmom. Why can't I remember those two? Those are big deals. And Blackbeard's flagship is called the Saber of Zebek.
Right.
And the idea is people think he's living on Zebek's will because he has gone out of his way to collect a crew of independently strong driven pirates, just like it seems from what we've seen Zebek was doing, because he had all those powerful pirates on his crew.
Well, I don't have thoughts yet because that's new. Thoughts and prayers. I got to think on that. I like that Luffy sticks up for his brother. That's great. Luffy's never one for taking away his. Wait a minute. Did we see them put the gross caribou into the barrel this time?
No, they just did that off screen.
Okay, that's what I thought. That it was just like an ongoing default joke that's how he travels with them.
Yeah, because they don't want to deal with him.
Well, who does? He's gross. He's so grody. But I like that they were like, no, he would never have done that, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if he's inside there. I wonder how he feels about this. And how he tried to go and rescue Vivi right away, and how they used. I liked it because it was more feminist than we can often be. But Zoro pointing out, like, no, screw that crap. You didn't go and rescue Ace right away because you said that he had to live his own life, etc., etc. But then I was like, Zoro, could you have used a worse example? He didn't go off and help Ace out right away, and then he ended up dying. So, like, maybe
it really feels like, Zoro, that's a terrible example, actually, and a reason we should go save Vivi.
Yeah, and so all I said when he said that, I thought that Luffy was gonna say, "Shit, we gotta go find Vivi." Like, I effed that up. Let's be learners who learn.
And instead, I made the wrong call. Remember how dead he is?
100% was wrong on that, and now he's a donut underground. Like, bruh. And then instead, Ace has his own event until he was in danger. And then, yes, but remember that ended in death? And instead, they're like, that's a good point. Okay, let's go. And I was like, I'm a feminist. And no, you learned nothing.
Sometimes save women. I would love the idea of Robin being like, yeah, but remember when my thing, like, sometimes saving people's okay, I guess we're moving on.
I was like, I realize the story is going in a direction and you're taking it there, then use a different exemplar. Don't use the one where you made the wrong decision and therefore your brother was killed. Okay, I guess we're moving on. I swore an oath to him, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Let's go off in a new direction. And that's all that. End of my dream. Once again, we're just sitting here on the outside, just being like, what? What was the end of your dream? Never mind, I said it. Anyways, let's go on. Maybe we should nap. Anyone hungry? Lunch?
Aren't you happy that the SBS confirmed that Caribou did not hear Luffy's dream?
Oh, thank effing God, because I was like, wait, no, what? You're going to let the wet reindeer hear your dream, but not us? I was pissy. So he did a good thing there. He was doing God's work coming out. But I analyzed this for far longer than one should. So let me give you just a mere few seconds of my analyzing of the reactions of the crew to Luffy's dream, shall we? Okay. I want to see the world and write a book about it, says Sabo with a band-aid over his nose like a weirdo. Heh, okay, then I want to. And I swore an oath to him and Ace, just the three of us. I want to. And then he says a bunch of things. And the boat apparently now has feelings. It question marked and exclamation mark. Then Zoro goes, huh? With a perplexed face, not unhappy, but not happy. And then our Big Papa, I love him when you call me Big Papa, goes, what'd you say? And he's fine. Nami, what? And she's surprised. And immediately our bone dude is just like, yeah, that's freaking hilarious. And then Usopp gets angry. Come on, you know that's not possible. Maybe it is once I'm the king of the pirates. I mean, who thinks of something like that? And Usopp keeps getting pressed. And Robin immediately goes, what did they say? They laughed. Shanks had tears in his eyes. So we know that it was definitely the thing that was said, as we were confirmed earlier with Roger. You can't be serious about that. Franky loves it. And Sanji loves it. That doesn't say much. Robin doesn't not love it. And frickin' Chopper is so there for it. So from that, I have determined a few things. It's not going to be sexual because it's Luffy. Yeah. It's not making Nami super angry, so it doesn't have...
funny to imagine.
Well, I did imagine it because I sat there thinking like, okay, would Luffy say something? No, God, no, it's Luffy. Come on, get a life. And he's definitely, it has nothing to do with getting wealth or Nami would be happy. And it has, it's just funny because Brook thinks it's funny. And so does Chopper thinks it's like amazing and it makes Luffy cool. And Franky has the same kind of sense of humor as Sanji and Brook. So, yeah, I started to think it has to be something where everybody like can sing the sea shanty together or something.
Sing Bink Sake with the whole world. I could see that. It's
you know what I mean?
Like things around the party theory that he wants to throw a party with the whole world because like that kind of gets all of that. But then it's not very specific is the issue. Oda has said his favorite thing to do in real life is throw parties.
Yeah, but eventually our old Jim loves it and Chopper gets stars in his eyes and Nami even is like, that does sound like you. So the party is something that I said right away because I think like every single time we end something big, we get to have a party, which I love because it's that little down moment that we need. But when Chopper got the stars in his eyes, I wanted to see Brook again because Brook thought it was hilarious, but I'm just wondering whether or not
it feels like it wouldn't be Brook because like he would, instead of finding hilarious, be like, that's so cool, you'd think, right?
Exactly. That's why I worried. But Coca-Cola, when Oda and I were the same age little kids, Coca-Cola came out with...
You have to understand before we continue this how wild it is for you to say, but Coca-Cola as a response to what I said. Please continue.
But Coca-Cola came out with an ad campaign where they, for years, when Oda and I would have been little kids, did this I want to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony commercial.
But they brought it back in Japan because ads are usually country specific.
I looked it up and they had something that was similar. And Coca-Cola also did a whole campaign about hands across the world, which then somebody else ended up stealing for a much more worthy cause where you would put hands across America and a few other things. But
and then
Coca-Cola
referenced it.
Yes.
What a good movie.
So Coca-Cola did a hands across the planet thing. So I started to think about what was like kind of out there in the world that everybody would have done. And I started to think about the Coca-Cola campaign and that if I was doing something that was like global, that you could use Coca-Cola's hands across the world, everyone shakes hands, or you could do the entire world sings a body thing, or the entire world does that dance where they stick the chopsticks up their nose and do the basket thing. I don't know, something. So I'm starting to think about how they could use that Coca-Cola thing because Coca-Cola is so well known everywhere that I think that
this is such a wild leap, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about what would you do, like Gen Xy, what's stuck in your brain right around the time of your life that it's a permanent thing that you couldn't get rid of.
So think about this. The thing to remember is Oda has known what it is the whole time. He started his first drafts when he was about 19. That should be considered.
Yeah. And
I'm not saying it's to sell a certain
point. And it's Luffy's secondary dream. Give Bellamy a treat. Luffy's secondary dream.
It's either a secondary dream or King of the Pirates is something he wants to accomplish.
You have to pet the boy too.
I think I think we're going to need like an entire 2 hours of our theory stream after you catch up. That's just going to be talking about what his dream is.
I would not disagree.
It has to be something that's both dumb because people laugh at it and dumb enough for a child to say, but hard to do and somehow possible, but barely, like technically possible. Only technically possible. That's what it has to be. And that's
I know. So
it's so hard to
I'm kind of obsessed by it now.
This is to me more engaging than the One Piece is figuring out Luffy's dream.
Navy headquarters, New World, message from the Flame Emperor Sabo when they intercept his trace, and you're like, oh no, they've intercepted Sabo, so that's not great. There's no white transponder snail. Jamming. It's an emergency call then. He'll hang up soon. Trace successful. Where is he? And we see all the emperors. They're standing there being like, we're all emperors. And they're kind of far away.
You mean the elders? Not the emperors?
Sorry, the elder stars.
There we go.
Where is he? The kingdom of Lelouchia. Oh, my word. Yeah, I bet your word. That's one of the 8 countries that revolted the other day. They're revolting. The perfect place for Sabo to be hiding. I see. An unlucky man. Nope. It's simply destiny. Oh, well, you know what you're going to find out about destiny? Sometimes it's the thing you meet while you're trying to avoid it.
True.
And so then...
Which is a major theme of this arc.
Yep. And so then we get to find out they're like, I wasn't the one who assassinated King Cobra. Blah, blah, blah. I saw something terrible. And you'll regret this. Mark my words. The King of Lelouchia is saying, once a naval HQ, you'll be impaled. Oh, it's so cute that you're sticking up for them because they're about to do something that's really interesting when you see the big eye of Emu and then it goes over and I'm like, what is possibly going to happen? And then you know what I realized?
What?
We're about to have a Death Star moment where they do a practice shot.
Oh, yeah, we are.
It was so Gen X to do this, to be like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a little Death Star moment. Because I was like, yeah, I mean, I feel it, but I'm not happy. That was fucking terrifying to find out that existed.
Yep.
But
they need something called the Mother Flame to do it, so they can't keep doing it.
Did he do it the same way that they do it in Star Wars? Was it like the huge beam and then a destruction?
Oh, we should watch it in the anime. It's very good. There's like a full orchestra piece they play. Did you notice that it leaves a very similar hole in the ocean to a certain other place in the world?
But they said that they didn't have that technology.
Because Annie's lobby has the exact same hole in the ocean.
100. They're trying to claim that this is a new thing that he can only do now, but who could do it in the past?
The theory that I've generally seen is that it's one of the ancient weapons and it's being fueled by something Vegapunk made, and they basically only had enough for one go.
My goodness.
And now they need more of that fuel source.
Well, there's only so many times you can do that before, you can't sail anymore.
Which is probably what they want.
Yep. Oh my God.
Is there any character who's collected more death scenes than Sabo?
My God. I'm sorry, Sabo, but he is calling out a thing that is true.
Like, Sabo is just out there picking up as many death scenes as he can get. Sabo loves to die. I mean,
Sabo.
characters in One Piece, because Goku at least has the decency to die when he dies.
Jewelry Bond being inside of the weird afro thing was a bit odd.
The weird bubble, we gotta move quick. I just realized we're barely into it and we're an hour in. My God.
I'm gonna move us forward a whole bunch.
Let's go. They cut
weird thing in the water.
It turns out
move forward. They fight these things in the water. You've all seen it before, and then we're like, that was weird. And then all of a sudden we're talking to people and we don't know why we're talking to them. And we find out that the little kids are shrinking. I was so glad to find out that the little kids were shrinking because I was like, what are they going to do but the fact that they're returning these giant ass kids home? But I was kind of sad that we weren't going to say like, hey, parents, do you want to come out here and help take care of your giant kids? Like, if you had been stolen and now you were giant, I would want to be there.
But you can trust the world government, right?
Yeah, no. So I wouldn't be like, oh, you have my kid? Oh, okay. Give them back to me when they're smaller. That's ridiculous. So the world government really governmenting again. Like, Oda keeps showing the government as being a very interfering force in comparison. Can you imagine if any government did that today? Kids were taken, they were experimented on, and now they're trying to fix them and help them, but they don't like bring their parents out.
I gotta be real. As far as people being kidnapped to be experimented on, I'm sure there's a lot of ethnic minorities who have parents that grew up in the 60s and 70s who can very much relate to that concept.
Gross, Rock.
It happened.
I'm not saying it didn't, but
Yep. Yep.
In the 60s, it was really easy just to decide what you wanted to do.
Continue to go with the themes of the series of the government having these children at a government sanctioned lab that Caesar Clown was running, where he did experiments both illegally and for the government, that there were children being taken to be experimented on and altered. That fits in with the themes of this arc of treating people as tools and as little guinea pig scientific research so well. The themes of this arc are so refined, and like it feels like there's no wasted space. Like everything plays in with the themes of the arc. It's really great.
Don't disagree. Okay, we need to move fast, remember?
We gotta move fast.
Luffy gets separated with a few crew members. Then we see Jewelry Bonnie. He has an excuse to draw naked back and side boob. It's his favorite.
Love that
then
shit.
then we're there. Then a dude pops out of the water. He's big, Vega Forces. And then we find out Vegapunk is a hot chick. What? You can call me Dr. Vegapunk. We're still within chapters of anime?
Yep.
Where does anime end?
Until we reach Lucci being like, let me out of these handcuffs so I can help fight the Seraphim, we're there. That's the last thing the anime got to see.
What chapter is that? Prepare yourself. I'm moving faster. As soon as I saw her, though, I said to myself, Vegapunk is more than one person, because, or is like somebody who switches genders or something, because you ginned the hell out of Vegapunk and kept saying things like,
I think it's one of my all-time great Jin moments.
Yeah, all the times that you would be like, I'd be like, I hope that he's nice. And then you'd be like, I hope he's not bad. And you'd be like, is he nice? Is he bad? Is he a bit of both? Is he all of them? I don't know.
There was one time where I was like, yeah, he could be anything. He could be good. He could be evil.
Yep.
He could be greedy, inventive, wise, wrathful. There's so many things he could be. It was genuinely possibly my favorite Jin moment I've ever done. I think it's brilliant.
As soon as you did that, I was like, okay, so what's up with him? Is he like a thing with many
and then when
personalities?
You saw her, you pieced together what I was doing.
The minute I saw her, I was like, God damn it. There's going to be more than one Vegapunk. They're all Vegapunk. I love the Sea Beast weapons. I'm glad you like the Sea Beast weapons. So as soon as that happened, I knew things were going to be so crazy. And I was like, is there going to be 2? Oh my God, is there going to be more? I was
prepared for 7?
No, I was not prepared for 7. That was a bit like... But you know what I was also not prepared for is his disgusting apple head.
The body horror of it's fucking you up. Some people can't handle it. I got over it, but at first I was like, this is really gross.
Because it's effing open. And not having an actual brain.
I would like his design so much more if the apple was just closed onto his skull.
Yes!
Like if it was just down a little bit so that it made a seal with his cut open skull, it would be perfectly fine.
Yes, I understand it would still be weird, but...
Okay. Can I tell you a fan theory that I have that I think is probably wrong at this point, but I really like?
All right.
The timeline indicates that the satellites were likely not created until the time skip. I think that one of the first things that they had Law do when he became a warlord, or if I'm wrong about the timeline, I'm misremembering it, that it could have been someone else. I think the Op fruit could have been involved with making the satellites, which is why York is able to eat for all of them, because York would just have the stomach that's feeding the brain.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's the way they were able to do this and have one body be feeding the brain for all of them and keeping it working, is that the op fruit can separate body parts and still have them be connected. So the op fruit was used to make it because Law was working for the government, so they could have done that.
And he is like that.
He's also the world's greatest surgeon with that fruit, so him being involved just makes sense to me.
I love that. I like the brain growing in its own container, though, because I hated it growing on his head. It was gross.
And it would also explain why Law super didn't want to go to this island, because he knows it's a government island.
I was going to say, and Law would be like, there's too much shit going on. That is not a safe island to be at right now. So you feel free.
He's not a warlord anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, could I be wrong?
That makes
totally, but I like it as a theory. If we're saying Law's not dead, are we going to mention Winter Island quickly and how hard it is to hold all these W's?
No, we're not talking about that right now. You be quiet. I also like that theory because it shows that Law's holding crap back from Luffy, like, because Law has all those, like, I need to have my own wins and I need to have my own information that isn't your damn business.
Yeah.
Like, it would show that he's still his own man and he still has his own ego that lives, even though he knows that if they connected with Luffy, they'd be an unstoppable force.
Because his pride matters more than winning.
Yeah. Kids, too. But Luffy would have them in a hot dam.
Kid and Law have the same issue of pride matters more than winning, whereas a big asset we see from Luffy all the time is winning matters more than pride to Luffy.
Exactly. Luffy is like, all we're looking for here is W's.
Yeah, I don't fucking care if I get it by an honorable means. I'm gonna fucking win.
We got to get those W's, Ferda.
Yeah.
Okay. Shaka the good. Well, I'm glad there's one that's good, but you know what's ridiculous is that you could be as smart as he's supposedly supposed to be. And then you could be like, I'm Dr. Vegapunk.
Is this going to go into anime spoilers?
Yeah.
This feels like it's about to be anime spoilers.
I thought it out to the end of the thing because it wasn't. And then I was like, no, I'll mention this.
I have developed a sense over the course of this show of knowing when a thought will lead to spoilers, because I'll often start talking.
Have.
It's because I'm recognizing it in myself, so I'm used to it. It's because I'll start talking often and gotta be like, wait, you have to stop, and then I'll redirect and pretend I was going a different place. It's why sometimes I have just non sequiturs, because I have to redirect partway through.
This knowing shit other people don't know is hard.
You know what? I'm getting props here now.
My hat's off to you. My hat's off to you, sir. This is difficult. I love the egg world. It is so cool.
So can I talk about this? I was going to say I actually had a complaint about this setting that I was going to get to when we got here in 101.
But I'm not done.
Yeah.
So chill for a second.
Yeah.
My only thing is that when I was looking at the floor and its grid and everything, and it just seemed to be set up kind of like, what's that room called on Star Trek that they go to when they want to see other lands? And the holodeck. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. It was so holodeck. And so when I saw this, I was like, this is holodeck coded. The way the floor is done says to me that the rest of it must have kind of a similar look and that there's actual buildings and stuff on it. And so when things were holograms, I was like, well, that makes sense because it's the holodeck. Even though people could have sex with holodeck characters, which will never not be weird to me, even though I love sci-fi and was all into the holodeck. I was like, no.
Well, I feel like the holodeck, the fact that you can have like full-on relationships with the VI characters in it is in theory so good for a lot of social disorders for people.
It really is.
But also going to cause different, less damaging social disorders in other people who could otherwise be functional if they weren't using the holodeck as a social outlet.
Rag. So I kind of really liked it because I felt like he was giving a little bit of a tip of the hat to some sci-fi from childhood.
Well, because this whole arc feels like it's a love letter to sci-fi, the way that
it really is. It really is a love letter to sci-fi. And so then I started to look at some of the other things in here and think about like things that have happened in my lifetime. Even the weirdness of kind of the Lego pieces felt like it. Oh, see, Martin Blub did the same thing. Martin Blub is, you people, all you people, you have to be here for the holodeck sex talk too.
Thank you, Martin Blub.
So I really felt like that's what was going on in this part, because there's also like the whales on the ceiling really says to you like science worlds and science things as well, and it also talks out to a bunch of the ones where like the whales had to be saved or moved on to different planets, blah blah blah. And then you've got like Godzilla and the fire-breathing dragon and shit. So he totally did give a little love letter to it. But I like it. Okay, now tell me why you don't.
I like a lot of it. I think Egghead at first has a big issue, and the issue comes from Oda not trusting his assistants enough. I think he's not willing to give them enough responsibility, and because of that, the struggle with his eyes, the difficult with keeping up and drawing such a different setting, I think took a lot of time. And with all of that combined, I just need to flip the canvas quick to, yeah, I gotta fix something. All of that combined leads to him not having had the time, it feels like at first, to make enough background characters, because it feels like a video game level where there's not really a people living here. There's not a culture or an island. It felt way too empty to me at first, where eventually we start to see civilians, but when they first show up, the island is vacant and it feels kind of dead. And it, like, the best way I can put it really is video game level. It feels like a video game level, how empty and open this place is. And I think if he trusted his assistants more and was willing to delegate and have them cover more of the workload he couldn't, tackling this very high detail environment, it could have felt a lot more full and lively. Because when we show up in Dressrosa, we see civilians everywhere. When we show up in Wano, we see civilians everywhere. But when we show up in Egghead, it's without people for a long time. And yeah, you don't feel like there are people other than the Vegapunks. And I think it actually is a critiquable issue. Now, there's a lot of criticism Egghead gets from what I would call typical shonen fans. I think if you're the type of person who Jujutsu Kaisen is peak for, One Piece is going to let you down in a lot of ways. I am someone who is let down in a lot of ways by Jujutsu Kaisen. And I think you're kind of one or the other, honestly. I don't think those critiques are valid in my opinion. I think One Piece is going for a very different thing, but I genuinely feel like critiquing how empty Egghead Island feels at first, how it feels like it is just here as a staging ground for our character. Yeah, I like JJK, but I couldn't feel disappointed by it if I didn't like it. Just like a lot of the people who are disappointed by One Piece couldn't be disappointed by it if they don't like it. Being disappointed and not liking something are different feelings. I need to express that.
Yeah, so for me, when I got to the island at first, I had the same thought. I was like, is it only Vegapunks that are going to be in here? Because I was waiting to meet other Vegapunks, and then we met that one Vegapunk almost right away. So I was like, yeah. But then I was like, oh, well, maybe they know how bad the Straw Hats are and they're worried about their citizens. So they asked their citizens to go back home. And so that's kind of what I thought at first. Because it's definitely not because it's a science world and all the people are doing sciencey stuff, because people have babies.
Scientists take breaks, and there's vending machines that and shit that out here.
Yeah, that would be the first thing. The second thing is that people, even in a science world, not every single person is doing science. Just like even in a mining town, a gold pan town, not every person is doing gold pan. Hi there, YouTube. It's me, Mama Drock. I've been accused of being unhinged, and that there, see them? Unhinged. That's Drock. Drock is fully unhinged. But me, I'm what you call hinged.
She's very hinged.
I'm super hinged. So I'm going to hinge the hell out of this. Are you ready?
About to tell you all the things that you should do.
Okay. Once upon a time, we lived in a space world. And in that space world, we had things we were allowed to like. You're in that space world currently, and you should press like and space it out with us. And then in that space world, which is this world, but also other worlds, if you're grokking with me right now, we also have subscribe, and you should subscribe. And then if you would like to become a Patreon, you can. We have a thing. It's Patreon-y. And then you can come and watch the movies and stuff and hear me get all freaked out. I will never forget the first time I got to hear a transponder snail doing its little thing. I will always live in my deep, deep heart. But I'll also never forget the moment that I was right and Luffy was a god of the sun.
You were correct about that. That did happen. I remember it.
I was the most right as ever been. It was the super rightest. And if we get to 100,000 subs, which I feel like we can. Why? Because I just feel like it. We're going to get a tattoo together. And people are already putting ideas in our Discord, which you should join because it's funny and hilarious.
So far, just Sun God in front of the moon you're in front of the sun is a pretty good one.
I want to move on. Let's move on. Moving on is move on. Okay. Are you reading the thing now?
Am I reading the thing? I'm almost on it, and then I can tell you if it's good, and you can choose when to read it. It is a thing about Yamato, so it's about the previous arc.
Okay. Let me know when you put it over in my pocket.
It's a bit longer than we normally do, but I think it's
my online pocket. I am moving forward. Here we go. Boosh. Luffy does the thing that Luffy does when he jumps into things and he eats things and he talks to things and he punches things and he runs around. It kind of seems to be Luffy's MO when he first gets to a place. He's like, oh, I'm in a new place. I'm going to get a little unhinged for a moment. You think Mama Drock is unhinged when she unhinges?
Yes.
Luffy is more unhinged.
That's true. That is unironically fully true that Luffy is less hinged than you.
Yeah, Luffy is less hinged than me. So people should have no problem with my level of unhingedness. It's ridiculous to claim that, oh, she's too unhinged. You read One Piece. Okay, I'm going to read this. Did you read it all?
I read it all. It's very, very well written. It is an essay about Yamato and feminism. It's up to you when you want to read that because it's about something from the previous arc, more or less. But it's.
I'm going to read it now because we're about to. Oh, you know where am I going to read it? I'm going to read it as the in-betweener. When all the people who haven't read have to let me go on like a blister in the sun.
Okay.
Luffy eats. He moves on. He meets Dr. Vegapunk II, the scientist genius, who doesn't happen to mention that they're going to need to pay for shit, which is weird. Really weird. Because then they get in trouble. Right? They get in deep, deep trubs for then, having not paid for shit.
And then Bonnie's like, Daddy, don't blow me up with a laser. And then he don't listen.
Mini Daddy.
Yeah. Well,
Mini Daddy, don't blow me. Can I just say that I feel like I had a little World of Warcraft moment when my people went into the machine to get their Egghead Island shit on, and they came out wearing bikinis. I was like, wow, is this you?
This is World of Warcraft coded, where you show up like, I want my new armor, and they're like, okay, the boys get cool futures outfits. You're gonna get a sexy underwear.
Here's your underwear. It's super protective.
Can we real talk that as much as it's incredibly sexist, the outfit the girls got, Robin kind of looks incredible?
Oh, I mean, she looks hot as heck. Let's not
really,
lie.
Really, really good looking.
Yeah, it's great, but she ain't protecting herself very well, and I feel pretty pissed off about it because she's gonna be like, I'm gonna go do some stuff. And then she goes to do the stuff, and then she'll get cut right open because nothing is protecting her little legs.
I think my favorite of the future outfits, which it just showed up in the anime within the last few episodes, so it's not a spoiler, might be Zoro. I love Zoro's future fit.
Oh, I adore Zoro's future fit. Zoro's future fit is definitely the best. You know what Luffy looks like in his future fit?
Astro Boy.
Yeah, no notes.
Yep. I knew what you were going to say.
And also so cute.
He's adorable.
He's so adorable in his little future fit. I'm really here for his little future fit. Go Astro Boy. He's somehow cuter than Chopper.
Which is wild. I feel like Chopper didn't get much of an upgrade. He's wearing like, what, a future football helmet? I don't know. I don't
Chief. Like it. I'm not here for it. You could do so many things with my cute boy. He's a cute boy.
My lowest tier for the future fits, followed by, and you're going to hate this cricket, Brook. I don't think Brook's little fishbowl helmet.
Yeah, they did him dirty on Future Fit.
Usopp is number 2. Usopp looks fucking great.
Yeah, that is a true story.
Robin, Usopp, and Zoro came out of this looking incredible.
Yeah, I was like, these are good things. I could watch this all day. Okay, we need to move on.
Okay.
Please don't hurt my daddy, she says. And she needs to say things because she's going to die soon. So we got to let her say stuff.
I'm so convinced. I love this. We'll see. We'll see if you're right.
She's either die or something super traumatic is happening to her.
It feels like
your
read is either it'll be death or trauma is what you're conceiving of. Yeah.
I don't mean light trauma. I mean like
you mean severe trauma.
I fought for 12 years in a war trauma.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm very sad I'm very sad about Law. I'm just going to put that out there. Everything that happened there made me feel like this. No, go away, Blackbeard.
You're right, but has he considered that he should have listened to the island and been a goddamn winner?
Oh my god.
Oh damn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting cranky. It's just so hard to hold all these W's.
I just want to punch you in the head. You and your best friend, Blackbeard. Oh, I really do like the moment, though, that we put Shock Willie through Blackbeard's belly, because I hate him. That was pretty good.
I mean, Blackbeard gets fucked up every time he fights anybody, and it's great, but also, like, Law's crew, pretty cool. I like that they're specialized for aquatic combat. They held their own pretty well.
Yeah, but not well enough.
No. That's worth noting. They haven't seen the end of the fight in the anime. They've only seen that Law's not doing great.
Robin's outfit kind of makes me nervous, though. It makes me as nervous as my jean skirt made me when I was in high school. And I was right to be nervous about my zippered front jean skirt. It did, in fact, break and fall off my body. So I am worried for her.
We can only hope that the future outfits are tougher.
I'm here with a wet caribou. I'm walking around. All we're doing is learning out more about the island, and then we're finding ourselves the possibility of Jinbei having a son, but it's not a son. What? What is it? Another Seraphim. Because they thought the world would be a lot safer if they let these little bastards have every power in the entire world and then grew them up.
I love when Vegapunk was designing these, he must have been like, the world government, should I just like put everything in these guys? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, I'm thinking to put some crazy overpowered devil fruits in them. All right. Some Lunarian DNA. I guess you can if you want to. I'm going to make them giants. I'm going to make them like 6 foot tall children for the short ones. Okay. And lasers. I'm thinking death lasers also.
The death laser thing was so like, they already were ridiculous. And then they all just suddenly have lasers and you're like, what?
They have Lunarian durability, Lunarian strength, Lunarian fire powers, devil fruits baked in, are giants, and are built from the DNA of some of the world's strongest combatants. What else could they use? I'm thinking death beams. I'm thinking we're gonna throw in some death beams.
Okay, then we finally meet the giant robot that actually existed 900 years ago, and we see him and no heartbeat.
True. He's not doing anything. We can't get into that, though, because anime onlys.
I already said no heartbeat, bitch.
Yeah. Just so you anime onlys know that he's not doing that.
You heard me. I said it. Okay, then we move forward. Why? Because it's what we have to do, and it's what I keep saying in this. I knew who. I don't know if I can say that.
Can we briefly talk about? Yeah, you're right. Can we briefly talk about the fact that I think when I listened to all the clues you laid out, you had been so observant about everything with Bonnie and who she was yelling at. I think you could have put together that she was yelling about the person who could have stopped this was Vegapunk, and by this she meant what happened to Kuma. I think you could have put it together, but when we were on the phone, there was a moment where you said, no, Bonnie couldn't be Kuma's daughter. They look nothing alike, and shelved it. And I think if you hadn't have done that, you could have pieced it together, because I heard you bring up all the individual elements in phone calls with me.
I know. When you brought that up to me when we were talking recently, I was like, what? And then I went back and watched some stuff, and then I thought about things that you and I had talked about, and I was like, I totally could have.
I think you had the pieces and could have pieced it together, but you just decided that because they look too different that there was no way. And that decision, I think, is the only reason you didn't piece together that Bonnie was talking about Vegapunk.
Sometimes I just was like, I got to put this away. I'm done with it.
Totally.
I've been obsessing about this chick for way too long. I just got to move on.
How much info you've gotten out of it is still going to be impressive for people.
The robot exploded. The real Vegapunk comes out again. He is disgusting because his head is a goddamn apple. Ugh. Oh, God.
I love Vegapunk, honestly. Oh, before we get to that, the people want to know, who's your favorite Vegapunk?
You're not going to like my answer.
Is it Shaka?
No, it's the real one.
Stella? Interesting. I don't dislike that. I think that's cool.
No. It is original Vegapunk. Are you talking about just the extra Vegapunks? 1 to 6?
I'm talking about when there's 7 of them, which is your favorite. Because I think we can't put like pre-split Vegapunk in the running.
Okay.
Of the 7 split ones, who's your favorite?
I really kind of like Edison.
Hey, that's fair. Edison's weirdly popular. He's never really appealed to me.
The problem is that I love me a Stella. Like you gotta love the Stella. But there's something about Edison that I just enjoy.
At this point of the story, I'll say who my favorite was at this point of the story, because next part my answer changes, and it's terrible because I don't have a good reason. I just think York is cute, and that's literally it.
York simply because York is cute?
That's it. She's just cute. I don't have a good reason. I just think York is cute.
We can't put you around bad women because you don't have protection. Like, you don't have a bad woman protector. I'm sticking with my 2 great kids. I think that I like Edison. I also like a thinker. I'm all about smart people. I'm all about the thinkies.
I think
Which
Shaka's
makes
my
sense.
second favorite. I love Shaka.
Which makes sense that when I found out that some of my non-Indigenous family came from a town known for helping to think our way out of the Cold War.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Shaka's my second favorite for sure. I love Shaka. I think Shaka's great. He's so cool.
The tongue hanging out for me is fine because that's what my dog does, and I think my dog is adorable. I was really glad it's Einstein. It is. I was really glad that he did kind of make him Einstein-y, which is maybe why I'm also pissed off about the flat-topped head without like hair or the apple at least on it, because I was like, come on, finish the code.
It should be attached. Okay,
it should be touching.
Is there anything else we should talk about, or are we going to be moving on now?
What about the robot then? Did you build this too? Make it move? No, I did not. This is the legendary Iron Giant. Iron Giant? Are you kidding me? He did that for your generation.
Oh, probably.
That was a nod to you.
He was like, here you go. Giant.
It is said to have attacked Marijois about 200 years ago. What? 200 years ago? But it was actually built 900 years ago. So now I'm also interested in what took place 200 years ago, because we talked about there being any kind of a coup 200 years before?
I think for the theory about it, we gotta wait until the anime onlys are gone.
All right.
Because we have to get into, why, when Yeah,
I know. I hear you.
Okay, we gotta do this. We gotta get to the last anime only thing so that I can draw the second part of this image.
Done. Kuma being repaired suddenly takes off needs to be talked about because he goes to Marijois, and that is wild and totally unexpected. I was blown away. And then before they leave, I just need to make sure there's nothing else that has to be talked about. Like, has to. If you are a person who Lucci showing up with his zeros and getting on the island, I was so angry about that.
You're not a big Rob Lucci supporter.
I want you to know, because I don't think I've made this obvious up until now.
Yeah.
I'm an anti-Rob Lucci.
My man Robert not getting the cred from you.
You know what? If Bob wants cred from me, then Bob can start acting better.
Wait, no. I thought Robert was already funny, but Bob is great.
I just feel like Bob isn't doing enough for me to like him, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I do like Bob being like, I see your point. I see that we're not allowed to attack emperors. Have you considered I don't consider him an emperor?
Yes, that was actually kind of wicked. I'm not going to lie. I do like that he's also like, I'm as important as you. And then he goes, indeed, the foolish and laughable warrior of liberation who brings smiles to people is also known as Nika, the sun god. Nika? Never heard of it, says all the crew. But as long as people wish for him, his existence will never truly disappear. Eyeball pop. Wah, wah, wah. All things are brought into this world in hope. Even the devil fruits. That's so important and is going to be
he's convinced
so
devil
important.
Fruits are made by humans. So that's why he says that.
I think the idea that they are brought into being through hope super talks about some kind of power that the D's have. That the D's existence has some kind of, because we're always like, they carry on the will of others, but the idea of hope being something that can bring help into existence kind of speaks to like godliness, right? It's almost a form of prayer.
Do you think we can do your essay?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Drock and Mama Drock. So for this segment, I decided to try and tackle a topic that has the community up in arms.
This is a crew segment. If you're friends with someone who's on the crew and they don't have something for us to read in a month, you can ask for them to use their slot for you. This happened. This is Deus Ex Machina.
For this segment, I decided to try and tackle a topic that has had the community up in arms, perhaps more than any other, specifically about Yamato and gender. The purpose of this write-up will not be to convince you of one conclusion or the other, but rather to present a conceptual framework that I believe can be used to discuss this topic with more clarity. This framework has to do with two parallel, but clashing schools of thought within social movements that broadly deal with the issue of gender: liberal feminism and radical feminism. Well, I'm glad they're both feminism. Or more specifically, feminist Marxism. Note that while
infamous.
I'm using the term feminism here, those distinctions exist in roughly the same form for LGBTQS2 plus communities. I added that because I'm First Nations, and so two-spirited. Generally speaking, liberal feminism is the ideology that all humans, regardless of gender, deserve equal rights and protection, as well as the possibility to pursue their own individual happiness and self-actualization. This means that for liberal feminists, feminism is something that is concrete and specific manifestation of broader, more abstract ideals, the ideals of human individuality, freedom, and equality espoused by the liberal democracy. Prominent, I have to squish this in because it's so long. By the time I get to the other side, I can't find the beginning of the sentence anymore.
Oh no.
Prominent writers in this school include Elizabeth Anderson, J.S. Mills, and arguably de Beauvoir. I would agree. And unfortunately, we need J.S. Mills because he is a rich ally. A different approach is that of radical feminism. The term radical feminism in this context is merely technical one, referring to the specific school in feminist philosophy. It doesn't imply political radicals or anything of the sort. This school of thought often utilizes Marxist or Marx-esque formulations to argue the institutions that govern our society, both formal, such as the legal systems, and informal, such as rationality, are defined in, referring specifically to school of thought of feminist philosophy. It doesn't imply political radicalism or anything of the sort. This school of thought often utilizes Marxist formulations to argue that the institutions that govern our society, both formal, such as legal systems, and informal, such as rationality, are defined in the context of historical or socio-political power struggles, and that we ought to re-examine or dismantle those structures in order to defeat oppression. Under this view, feminism isn't the question of applying a theory of human rights on a specific group, but rather the story of conflict between two unresolvable perspectives on truth itself. Love that. Prominent writers of this school of thought include Catherine McKinnon and Judith Butler. Love that too. Thanks for including context. While those two theories go hand in hand on some topics, they also have much to criticize about each other. Radical feminists often argue that the idea of individuality and independence that liberalism includes are masculine forms of thought, and thus that liberal feminism abandons proper feminist thought. Meanwhile, liberal feminists critique the focus on history and politics that takes center stage for radical feminists, arguing that it results in the same sort of
This does get to One Piece very shortly, guys.
Group exceptionalism that liberalism was formed to combat. It should be exceedingly clear now how this divide can come head to head on the topic of the LGBTQ plus inclusivity liberal feminism, as it concerns itself more broadly with human rights, can be applied almost directly to the LGBTQ experience, and thus their struggle is distinct and irreducible to that of feminism. This can lead to inclusions or exclusions, as seen with the example of the unconscionable views of J.K. Rowling. Now, what does any of this have to do with One Piece? I'd like to argue that the two major instances of trans representation in One Piece, Bon Clay and the Newcomas on the other hand, and the Yamato on the other, each represents one of two schools described above, radical and liberalist feminism perspectives. Respectively, I already see that. The Newcoma and Bon Clay among them fit the bill of the LGBTQ plus struggle as seen from radical feminist perspective to a T. They are established community with their own culture, fashion, and hierarchy. They're dictating and rationalizing their oppression. Their struggle is part of the revolutionaries and thus irreducibly concrete and distinct. Meanwhile, Yamato is alone. His struggle for personal identity isn't a cog in some grander socio-political reality, and he doesn't belong to a group or a movement. His story of wanting to be Odin doesn't fit into the archetypal trans experience, nor does Yamato himself frame his conflict in that way. All he wants is to be able to live in the way that he sees fit. This sort of personal quest for self-realization and individuality is the very ideal of liberal feminism. Kaido wants Yamato to exist under his terms and to obtain power in the way he desires. Meanwhile, Luffy immediately accepts Yamato's weird logic and sees it as perfectly reasonable that Yamato should be treated the way that he asks to be treated. Luffy does this not because of his belief in some theory of gender metaphysics or some theory of social emancipation, but merely because Yamato asked him to. This is exactly the ideal of liberal feminism, as it sees human rights as the crux of the matter, not the struggle of a specific group, but the unalienable right of all individuals to share. This divide is perhaps why the discourse surrounding Yamato is so heated and divisive, discounting the outright blatant bigotry, which there is also a lot of. The discourse often fails to account to those two distinct schools of thought and regularly confuses between them. Thus, when the unique oddities of his character and personality are brought up, people are often unsure about how to treat them and why and what they mean. However, I believe that with better understanding of the theory and justification, or more effective discourse can be achieved. And that is the purpose of this write-up. I haven't been active in this stream or server for a while. Life's been hard, but rest assured, I'm with you in spirit. Do ask Machina. That was beautifully and articulately put. I really appreciate that. And I think that's a really powerful, important point, that we spend too much time arguing about the political nature of things and don't treat things like Luffy does, where you just say, I do this because the person has asked me to do this and this is how they see themselves. And I think that should be enough.
And I think this piece didn't bring up, I think if there's one flaw in this, and I think there is one, it's that, and I don't think it's one that could be addressed with the time frame you're given, unfortunately, it's that this doesn't address Kiku, but I think Kiku is an example of the same thing as Yamato, where persecution and resistance to status quo is not part of Kiku's identity. It is just a statement of being for Kiku. But I think the reason it can't address this is because a lot of people bring up, okay, but there's lots of people who were accepting of Kiku as trans who aren't with Yamato, and I think that complicates this. But the issues there, I think, often have to do with people who visually present as femme. There's kind of like a dominating force to that, and I don't think there's space to get into that in this essay, unfortunately, but I think that was very beautiful. It was really well reasoned. I hadn't thought about that before. Granted, schools of feminism is not a thing I'm that educated in.
Yeah, I think it's something that I would like to get into at a later date, and I need you to put, I'm tired of waiting for you to do brain pins. I'm going to write it down. Okay. This is your official warning that I'm going to say whatever the shit I want.
Onlys, we're done holding back. I'm sorry.
I gotta do it, people. I've held back so many things.
We've held back. We've held back. It's time.
Let's do this. Okay. Love you, squishies that can't be here. See you later, Gator.
I'm gonna reveal in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's bring this back. Everybody, let's get to the stabby boy. Let's get to the stabby boy.
Okay, so immediately the reason that I decided I wanted these two pictures is because when we were reading the part and I got to the part with Garp in the town and how he was saying how he was giving the story to Kobe back in the day, and he was telling him about the old man in the boat with a young boy and da-da-da-da-da, and you're in there and what would you do? As soon as he started telling that story, I was like, no, Garp, no. And Garp did the most beautiful thing in the way that he activated them and gave them the things that he knew they were good at that they couldn't see in themselves. Because Garp was like, no, Kobe, you can absolutely take dude's arm off, no problemo. You absolutely can.
And Helmeppo, you can protect him and get him there.
You can 1,000,000% protect him. And what was the other dude's name?
Gru. Prince Gru. You can save everyone after.
You can 100% create a net of some sort or something that you can actually save everyone from. If you guys work together, you are unstoppable. You're just not seeing it. I am seeing it. Let me stand here and do this. And so then we go to the backstory and he's like, so no, you don't save the old man. He's lived enough life. And I was like, oh, Garp, you piece of shit. You're sacrificing yourself. And so I thought it was one of the most beautiful things I've seen. It was a moment that Garp and I sat down and had a little talk cross-legged on top of a platform. And I told him I was sad for him. And he told me he was sad for him too, but he knew shit was going to be okay. And then he went on to have this poke through him. But at the same time, right after they show that, you show a flip, and we're back to Jerry Garcia here. And I realized, God damn it, Jerry Garcia is also an old man in a boat.
Yep.
So I'm looking at Saturn, and he is now not where he should be. And he is just an old man with infinite powers, some incredible powers, sitting in a boat. So if I'm Oda, I'm going to use this lore in two ways. I am going to have Garp say that thing so that we can understand Garp's sacrifice. And then I'm going to show an old man who doesn't see himself as sacrificable and doesn't see himself as anything but continuing to exist and being important, even though he should have been a person who died earlier and who I think could be up to 800 years old or more, especially since I think he's made out of dark matter of some kind now. And we're seeing the two sides of that. But I think this dude is going to get a little shock. So this man, and you're right, he is a scary old man. It's both the yin and the yang of that idea. And that in itself is incredible. But I also wondered how it's going to change Jerry Garcia's future if I'm going to see him attacked or die in some way.
See him be left behind by people who leave on a boat would be so good. So good.
Yes.
Now, I want to, oh God, we can talk about so many things now, guys. We can talk about so much. I'm going to take my brief detour to talk about the thing that I talked to you about, which is, I am not joking. This might be my favorite chapter in One Piece because it does two things. First of all, the Garp sacrifice, crazy. But second of all, there is almost no moment in One Piece that has hit me harder than an old man on a boat. And it is the moment that made me realize, and we're going to do an entire video about this at some point, that One Piece is only going to work once. And what I mean by that is, think about this. If I try to describe to someone who does not read One Piece, holy fuck, there's an old man on a boat. There's no world where that means anything. But because of everything that's been built up, because of the story we've taken here, and how fucking brutally shocking it is, how game-changing, how revolutionary, how destructive it is that this old man is on a boat, it means something. It changes everything to see this old man on a boat. It's fucking crazy, but it shouldn't be. It is an old man on a boat. And I think whatever the One Piece is going to be something similar, where if you don't have the context of this journey we've been on, it will be meaningless to you. However, if you've been here the whole time, it's going to be mind-bending. And I think from the point that it's known in the zeitgeist onwards what the One Piece is, starting the story is not going to work the same. It won't work as well. Why is that? Because you're going to know that the One Piece is a story equivalent of an old man on a boat the whole time. And as you move through, you're going to keep going. This is the story where the One Piece is X. And it's going to hit wrong. It's only going to work once. We are one time going to not know what it is when we find out. I straight up, because we're going to be doing live readings where we react on stream as often as possible from now on, when the chapter comes out, when the One Piece comes out, I might need to turn off my phone for several days. I might need to make a plan with Mama Drock for when we're going to read it and avoid everything so that I can get hit properly. But like, genuinely, but it's worse than Bruce Willis being dead the whole time. That movie still works. I think if you were told one of the most hype moments in the series is an old man on a boat, it would feel wrong. And I think it would feel much worse for the One Piece because it's going to be the same, where it will only mean anything if you've been there for the journey. Anyways, that's my piece.
But it's interesting for me because I don't know if spoiling is always a bad thing, because I know for a fact as a teacher that if you have kids read in lit circles or whatever, if kids hear things that happen in the future, it actually makes the other kids want to read it more. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what the shit? So if you're like, it's an old man in a boat, I think that people who, if they found out the One Piece ahead of time, I think that people who were into manga, I'm thinking as somebody who's like 8 years old really now, and if all of a sudden it comes up, I think they might start reading it still. Like they'll still be there. I think
that's possible. I just think it's
won't
not
be
going to hit the same.
Yeah, it won't be the same necessarily, but I think it will still be pretty powerful and it will still be cool for them. it'll just never be the same experience. You and I are literally going to have to like I keep thinking like, please let this be at a time of year where it's possible for me to stay away from people.
It's probably only a couple years away at this point. Within a couple years, we're going to get the word. We're going to get one of our editors to message us and be like, they revealed it. And everything shuts off. I drive out to your house and I'm like, we need to get online as soon as possible. Actually, wait. Let's make the policy right here. When we are told we know what the One Piece is, when we get that message from our heads up scouts out there,
we look at nothing.
We turn off our phones. You drive here, I think, because I have a streaming rig.
Yeah. You know that that song, I totally disagree with you. That song talking about twisting time back together, I think that they separated time somehow. Okay. And I think that there's different time lines and different time pieces. No. Twisting time back together. Come the shit on.
I mean, that could just be getting access to your memories again. Or reliving memories.
Even that is a thing. Even that is a spoiler.
Could be.
Come the shit on.
You did see Bonnie shove her hands into the memories. You know what's coming.
I know what's coming.
There's no world where that doesn't result in a flashback.
Enjoy dying, Bonnie, or at least being effed forever for now. The green blood thing, you made your own blood? I don't like it.
You don't like green blood?
No, you heard me. I don't like it. I'm not here for it. But you know what I am here for? I'm here for the idea that when our boy had turned into level a gazillion, level 5, him, and brought out the sun god, that then his sun god heart was like, how you like me now, bitch, and turned on a robot that you could actually see in the pages of the giant iron robot. Luffy's heartbeat was in the picture. Let's go over here. I'm going back to the beginning of this thing because I was turning it off so that the people didn't see it. My God. It's in the chapter before. I'm so bored of looking for it. My ADD gets really weird sometimes. It's like, no, this is too much. Okay. So when we stand in front of the Iron Giant, all of a sudden, Luffy's heartbeat is there, and then his Joy Boy heartbeat is the thing that clicks the robot on that has been dead for 200 years, built 900 years ago. And that was brilliant writing. Like, so brilliant. I was just like, God damn, man, you have just outdone yourself. And you outdo yourself a lot. But making Luffy's freaking Song of a Heartbeat be the thing that wakes this robot up. So I'm hoping that the robot is eventually one of the things that saves them and pulls them out. In my perfect world, we would have Jerry Garcia get to be deaded. I think we're going to find out that Jerry's weird black spirit shit can go through the magic circles, and that's how he was able to get to wherever he needed to. But I don't know then, like, would he have a specific boat for that had to have a magic circle on the other side, or is it just kind of an automatic thing where he can do it? Because if Kuma is able to just move people throughout the world using his kind of thing, like, did they find a way to create these magic circles so that it is like just a method of travel for these sick freaks? But on the other hand, kind of weird that these sick little biatches are some kind of weird black something spirit.
Someone pointed out something that I think you'll find very interesting, because you've been talking about the idea that Imu could be a corrupt Joy Boy. If you look at this scene where Saba's breaking in, what Cobra gets pierced by looks like a cartoon devil tail. So there's theories that he too has cartoon powers, but it's a cartoon devil.
Oh, that would be wicked, Oshia. I like that he calls it a failure, because we failed at what was the failure? The attempt to grow the meme. I spent 20 years in Exorbitant working the bloodline, but it doesn't have the same qualities. But he looks just like them. He's big and strong, blah, blah, blah. I told you it's a failure. A failure. What color is he? Pink. That's the failure. So he's identical in every way to Kaido then.
Yeah, Momo's powers are exactly a perfect recreation, just pink.
First of all, pink is sweet ass. How dare you call that a failure? And second of all, booyah. So are you talking about the thing that's through the giant or through the king was a...
King Cobra gets stabbed by something that looks like a cartoon devil tail.
Because one of the things that I was noticing is what the hell is big enough to put that kind of spike through this robot?
That's another great question, because that's a big spike in a big robot.
So where else is there a
Luffy
thing?
can grow way bigger than a giant with his powers, so corrupt Joy Boy theory gets some more credence.
Exactly. So having Emu as a corrupt Joy Boy would partially explain why something would be able to get big enough to put this kind of a spike through this robot. And then it's also missing just one horn, just like Kaido's big statue thing was when he was fighting with him and took off the horn, which is also interesting. Yeah, but I'm really hoping Big Boy. There was no damage only because he ran out of energy.
Oops.
So if he ran out of energy, you need to wonder what was powering him 200 years ago. Was that a failed Joy Boy?
Was maybe the world government wrong when they said no one's awakened it for so many centuries and someone did? Or by so many, did they mean 2 centuries? And 2 centuries ago, someone awakened the fruit.
Yeah, because it said its goal was never understood. They say that there was no damage only because it ran out of energy. No doubt the scientists at the time were utterly shocked by the event, the sheer scientific power that was beyond anything they could comprehend. No one knows where it came from or what it was trying to do. That really speaks to there being some other kind of Joy Boy who failed at a task or who was awakened. Because I think that Luffy is turning him on now. Like, I'm not fully caught up, so I don't know if we get to see that or we get to find out why. But in my opinion, I think that Luffy being Joy Boy and his heartbeat is the thing that's awakening this giant. It really seems to be, because when Luffy goes into level 5 and is effing around, then they show him specifically turning on. And so you need to wonder if there was something that happened 200 years ago where something woke up for a moment and it turned this particular Iron Giant on, but it failed. And so it ran... he died or something, and so it ran out of energy. Oh, because if he went to, was it the red line that the robot went to? Is that what he said?
Climbed its way to Marijois and then passed out just as it got to the top.
Shit, yeah. If he went to Marijois, then the faker, the other Joy Boy who wasn't fake but was new, maybe took on Emu too soon, and Emu just came out and was like, yoink, no more life for you, biatch. And then boom, that would power down the robot.
That would make sense. That would explain how it got there. That would explain, that would work. I don't know a dwarf star theory.
And so that's what I think it is. In my opinion, I think that there was some other Joy Boy and that Emu was just like, no more life. And then robot was like, and now I'm off. That he wakes up to the sound of Joy Boy's heart, which would say that then the sun is energy. Luffy being the sun is bigger because when people have this particular devil fruit, then they are giving life and energy to things. And I wonder how many other things on the planet will be connected to Luffy's heartbeat and him existing, and they will be powered by the sun, Luffy. And now that Luffy has found his inner him and turned on, he's a power source. Now he can possibly power, at this point, he could possibly power the other machines. Like, he's one of the things, him and Wimpy Hoshi could now power that machine that they need to power.
Could be. A lot to this. And now you're in the territory of, I don't know anything of what you're talking about, so I can truly neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. Because that's what I think. So let's put that in there. That's a prediction. So stick it in the...
shove it in the prediction slot.
Shove it in the prediction slot and stick it up on the screen. I think that there was a temporary Joy Boy who met Emo too close to his transition or her transition, and they got yoinked, and then that's why it turned back off. And that Luffy is a power source is a separate thing for other things that are on the world, because look at the way that Luffy repowered Zanesha. Luffy's heartbeat comes out, Zanesha wakes up in a new way. So since Luffy has been awakened, Luffy now awakens.
Interesting.
That's another one. So that's what I think.
Okay.
Okay, and that Luffy is a power source. Put it in. Okay, and then this is why we had to let those people leave, because we needed to think. Okay, but I'm going to say something. I know I'm
Okay.
only saying it, but I'm aware of what I'm going to say this time. I was just going to say it before. That Luffy, being the Nika, the sun god, also turns on all the D's.
You're just gonna walk into that one?
Mm-hmm. But I do mean it. Okay, I don't hate Luffy teaming up and having the big old fights together, even though I hate Lucci. It's a thing that I was talking about before, that Luffy has a way of making people, because if Lucci had if Luffy had just asked Lucci if he wanted to team up, Lucci would be like, I don't know. But Luffy trusts people so quickly that he's like, okay, well, look, for this only, we do this for this only. And I don't mind it. I like that they had to team up against them. And watching giant Luffy head scream at Lucci and then try to bite the ground on him. That's why I was like, they had such a raucous fight, and then to say, like, look, we are going to have to team up and fight against these guys together because they're so strong that we have no choice, was kind of amazing. And it's also why I had to keep reading.
It's also Oda handling power so well, where we don't ever confirm at any point in this so far whether or not the Straw Hats could beat the Seraphim, because it's like, yeah, they're too much to deal with while we're trying to not let them murder CP9 or CP0.
Exactly.
Like,
wait a minute, I have to say to Dantex.
So you can't know for sure.
Dantex, the fact that they are not related makes it even more so. The D is something that was a protectorate. So they would be linked not just by blood, which is whatever. They would be linked by purpose, or what's another name for purpose? Will.
Something I brought up last time is that I believe the Ancient Kingdom were the D clan, and that the Ancient Kingdom were basically a historical equivalent of the Straw Hat crew, where they were getting a bunch of nations to freely sign on with following the will of someone they respected. Joy Boy, the first king of the pirates. That's my theory. That's what I believed for a long time.
I don't hate that.
And that's why we're seeing all these countries, all these great leaders willingly bend the knee to Luffy and ask to be part of his fleet and his way of going about things. And that's the D clan, are the descendants of that old crew. That the Ancient Kingdom
also
wasn't
don't
one
hate
place. It was a united front of many countries.
I also don't hate it because when I talked before about there being a lost nation, I didn't just mean like the lost nation we just saw Lost, because that's not how I thought of it when I thought of lost nations. So when that happened, I didn't think of that as being my prediction that I said. I was like, no, that doesn't count as a lost nation. What I mean is uncovering a lost nation. And that could be the D clan. It feels like there's a secret nation hiding, and that could be the D clan. I'm hoping there's still D clan.
Where would they hide an ancient nation?
Where would we hide an ancient nation? Underground, in the sky. I mean, we have put ancient nations in the sky. And do you remember when Eminem said there were more nations up in the sky and where gods were? That feels like D's.
Right.
D's sky gods. And so when we're talking about, well, Enel goes to the moon, guys, and he digs up crap, and there isn't a whole bunch of different things. I also thought about underground, putrid, but underground is so restrictive. I'm hoping it's sky, but we've already gone sky, but we haven't gone moon, and I feel like we have to go moon.
You were convinced that we must go moon.
I feel like we have to go moon. I think all the Ds are sleeper cells, and I think that's what I'm talking about, Luffy igniting the Ds. I don't know if that part is right. I'm just saying, if I was Oda, if this was my story, and Luffy is awakening things on the planet like he just awakened the Iron Robot, then the Iron Giant Robot, I would also like to see him awaken the Ds. And then I would be like, I may not have thought it before, but that's a funny-ass joke. Citizens are required to leave the area immediately. And then Kuma's like, yeah, I'm going to climb back up. You know why, bitch? Because I'm Kuma. And he just keeps Kumaing his ass up. Anyone who didn't know that the greedy thing would be the one that turned their back and turned everyone in isn't paying attention, because
Okay.
it's not going to be evil if evil is being met. It's not going to be smart because smart is thinking of the best plan for anyone. Greedy is capitalism. Capitalism has to keep eating and eating, like you and I were talking earlier, thinking that somehow it can have growth for all time, which is impossible and
There's
stupid.
always more you could
that's
have,
what
and there are
exactly
people who have more than York in the world.
exactly. Like when I look at trillionaires, I just want to punch them because I'm
And
like, you're so
I don't think there is actually a
stupid.
trillionaire. Well, there's not a known trillionaire, because if people don't, there probably are trillionaires, but the thing is, if you aren't making money off of your reputation, it is better to hide how much money you really have.
Exactly. Like the Rockefellers' money looks like it's only a certain amount, but we know that they've subsectioned. Yeah, and they've also subsectioned their family in hidden money. Like come at me.
Yeah.
And so when I look at those people, I always think like, so what actual joy are you getting out protecting your gazillions of dollars and trying to grow exponentially, which is not possible? What possible joy are you getting out of it?
I want to point out why I think Oda did a great job writing this mystery, because week to week people weren't solving. Oh god, we only have an hour left. Week to week people weren't solving this, and I think the reason why is really simple, which is on a week to week basis, he set this up super well. The only people we'd seen directly try to give orders to the Seraphim at this point early on were Shaka and Lilith. So we knew it couldn't be Lilith, because if Lilith gave the initial command, Lilith could shut it off, and it couldn't be Shaka. Edison said that they didn't listen to him, but we never see him try. And we also see York get turned to stone, but we don't see York tell them not to. So it was left up in the air which of the other 4 or 5 it could be, because it could have been Stella, really, really well. I think the mystery was done really well.
But also they kept pointing out over and over what the chain of command was, which made you know 2 things. It made you know that if any 5 elders shows up, they immediately could take control out of anyone. And we got one of those little bitches right now on a boat. That's that old man. He's on the boat.
Yep.
And then Vegapunk is next, but the authority chip is there after the Sentomaru. So the authority chip can also take back over. So you're like, these predictions are wild, but more importantly, they've showed this to us. I don't know if it was twice or 3 times.
They show it a lot.
And you know that the goddamn one of the 5 elders is currently out in that goddamn boat. So you know that he's saying to you, once again, he's saying, I put a gun on the stage, so you know someone's going to use that, right?
Yeah. I also love having him out on the boat lets you go, okay, was it him? Did he sneak ashore somehow? Or is there a traitor? Like, there's a bit of questioning.
Yeah,
like,
that part is kind of cool.
Safe.
That was a good choice. Chekhov's elder. Phenomenal. The fact that One Piece is a mystery is the reason that I think people love it so much. Because it's not just that you're reading, it's that you're reading and trying to figure shit out. Well, that's wildly fun. So he did a really, really good job with that. Choices were made and they were good.
As we move away into what's going on elsewhere, I want to bring up that I think a cool ass thing of the writing here is the Straw Hats are a big enough deal that instead of needing to show everything of how we're solving the arc problem and we get snippets of the rest of the world and don't see how things resolve, it's the opposite. We get to see how the rest of the world resolves because our crew is strong enough that it's a given they're going to find out who did this and take care of them. That just happens off screen. Off screen.
Yep.
It's they figure it out. They solve it. You don't need to know how, because they're the fucking Straw Hat pirates.
Yes, I had one of the same thoughts when I was reading it, when I was like, well, how did you guys find out? And then I realized, doesn't matter. We knew they would. So why did we need to go through that? Good point. Mm-hmm. Okay, move on.
Moving on. Motherfucker, we're going. Get blackbearded.
Bonnie being in the basement.
Get blackbearded.
Bonnie being in the basement and having to deal with her father's memories is really pissing me off. Like,
yeah.
As soon as Vegapunk was like, "Don't put your hands in there," I mean, she is annoying as shit.
There's nothing but pain in there, Bonnie.
There's nothing but stupidity in her because she's like somehow dumber than Luffy, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because Dr. Vegapunk is, I didn't try to do this. Shut up! Make my father. Wasn't trying to. I told you to do. Shut up, Bonnie. You can't actually find out the information you want to hear
I
If you're
mean,
running your mouth off, shut your cake hole, sit the F down, and find out what happened first, and then decide if you want to kill him.
well, she
One does
certain,
not simply get information by running their cake hole.
but she certainly can find out if she drinks up all those yummy, yummy memories.
Yeah, now that she's doing that. But what she needed to do was just shut her mouth. She is so Luffy and somehow stupider than Luffy. Because Luffy would have been like, what, old man? And then he would have been like, I wanted this to happen and this to happen. And then Luffy would have been like, oh, but it couldn't happen because of this and this. And then Luffy would be like, okay, damn it, you're not wrong. Luffy would have listened long enough to get the information and then been like, it's not good enough for me, though. I'm going to have to kill you. Whereas Bonnie is just like, tell me what happened to my dad. Well, it's a very complicated story. He was doing this and this. Shut up, old man. I'm going to kill you. Make my dad better. Oh, my God. Ugh. And don't tell me it's because she's young. It's not because she's young. We've seen tons of characters who are younger than her. She has the age to be able to do this, but her character is actually built so that it is my least favorite kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Bonnie, but she is my least favorite kind of person. She's the person in your life where they're like, tell me why this is happening. And you're like, okay, so, and they're like, I said, tell me. And you're like, okay, well then shut up.
Requires some context.
Anyways, if she's not talking anymore, that works out for me. Okay, so she has the ability to age and unage things. Does she age herself to death? Because she can't handle the
That is so out of line for One Piece. You are just seeking vengeance instead of actually theorizing.
Or she could youth herself to death and go back because she can't handle it and become a baby for life.
Well, her powers are only temporary on living things.
True enough. Let's just kill her. Well, people are dying more now. Did you notice that?
People are dying a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shaka getting shot is fucking crazy. That the fucking brutality there is wild.
Yeah, which is weird. You wouldn't think it was that brutal, you know? Because people get like a lot of bad things happen to them, and yet I was like, oh damn. The Lupiano, I don't know, Italian tiger leopard punch between the two of them. So good. Loved it. Exists in different dimensions. Exists in different dimensions.
What?
Exists in different dimensions.
You talking
Dreamed
about?
up by someone else before them. Okay, listen to what he says. When Luffy and Bob are fighting, the Vegapunk says, every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. If only I could be like this, if only I could be like that. All of those powers represent the many branches of the fruit of humanity, okay? But that unnatural status is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature. That's a jump. Don't you think that's a giantly weird jump in conversation? Like we're missing something?
A little bit. He's just a
If
weird
only
guy, maybe.
I could be like this. All of those powers represent the many branches of the future of humanity. But that unnatural status, does he just mean devil fruit in general?
Yeah, the unnatural status of like forcing your evolution forwards.
Right. Is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature, which is a weird thing to say, I think, no matter who you are. And then he says, a fitting punishment for its sin. Where does that come from? This is only my theory. So you see, you don't even need to debate whether any God exists or not. Isn't it just such a fascinating world? But he says, is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature, a fitting punishment for its sin. So then he's saying that the sin is having the devil fruit, and a punishment. What is the punishment? He never says it.
The fitting punishment, I think he's saying, is that you can't swim. Is that you are loathed by nature.
I imagined, but it's not enough. So it's saying that the ocean then is God.
Yeah, basically.
A fitting punishment for the sin. Those with the powers exist in different dimensions dreamed up by someone else before them, which makes you wonder if there is a dimension in which the D people live in now, like the majority, if they were sent into another dimension.
Weird.
If the D people are stuck in a different dimension. And that idea of threading time back together or twisting time back together could also be twisting the dimensions back together.
I'm not going to say anything because right now you could be absolutely fucking insane, or you could be onto something absolutely brilliant. And this is one of those times that Oda was clearly telling us what was going to happen, and most people don't notice because they don't take things literally.
I'm telling you right now that these 2 pages are going to come.
They have that
I'm
weight
just
to them,
taking
like
pictures.
Dragon talking about blah 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 man whatever. You know that one. This does raise the question of who chose to be a jacket. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Who wants to be a jacket is a weird question. But
someone did bring up, they make me a devil fruit that make me jacket, please.
Okay, so I think that we are going to have a twisting of time and space, and that we are going to twist time and space back together, almost like making. Okay, this could be because one of the history books I'm reading right now, because I always like to have history books going. And I just finished Salt, which I highly recommend if you're into history books, where it's the history of salt, which was wild. But I'm also reading a phenomenal book called The Fabric of Civilization, How Textiles Made the World. And in it, they talk about how the Bronze Age could also be called the Thread Age, and how the learning to create thread changed everything. Suddenly you were able to wrap weapons in a different way. Thread is the thing that eventually became cloth. You could sew things together, that it's everything. String, exactly, creating strings. So I would love the idea that the thing that broke the world apart is an untwisting of the strings that bound life together. Oh my God, it's literal string theory. You're right, Dark. And I'm creating a string theory. And so in it, if there is an untwisting of the string of fate or the thread of fates, where you undo the world and you have exist a different dimension dreamed up by someone else before them, if you have different dimensions and each one of the things has been unraveled, then that can be why there's been a broken part of history. It can also be why we can't just run into Laugh-Tell, because it exists in a different dimension.
I am having trouble keeping up with you at the moment. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's insane whether it's right or not.
Yeah, but just imagine if the reason that you can't find Laugh-Tell without the red things is that by finding them, you put something together that reveals that dimension, kind of like there's a door mention, and we just, for some reason, we're all like, oh yeah, there's a door mention. Well, that's actually just part of the other dimension that you can get to if you have the damn door fruit.
Forgot there are pocket realities already in One Piece is a major thing.
Yes, exactly. It's already there. We have the mirror dimension. We have the door.
Movie he wrote heavily involves alternate dimensions. Is something I forgot.
It wouldn't matter. We have the door and we have the mirrors. So if you have those, you know there's other dimensions. So you know that there could be a way that you hide Laugh-Tell in plain sight by just putting it in a different dimension.
Not feeling it as the thing.
And that you can twist together the dimensions of time and space and the reality that everyone lives to create a string that is the real world, all put back into one piece again.
This is crazy. But
I'm going to go into this for a while. Later on. I'm giving myself a dimension talk, and I'm going to do some sciencing. I'm telling you right now, it feels like there's something there, and this is the thing that happens to me. This is how I figure things out, like, I don't know, Luffy's a sun god.
Okay.
So I'm going to play with that.
I'm not saying you got to be wrong. I'm saying this is crazy, right or wrong, and I'm excited to see where you go. And I am going to try to act like a grounding force to help you be as right as I can.
You ground it up, baby, because I'm going to go through this thing, because I really think it makes sense. If you're thinking about, like, the threads of time are a thing, having the threads of time. And time is one of the pieces of One Piece. It's a thing that matters. It's a thematic thing that comes all through. And it might matter more than ever. There might be an idea of time, space, dimensions that are re-threaded to create the one piece, one world. I'm loving this.
All right. I'm excited to see if we can find more for this.
I'm going to play with this idea so much more.
The only issue I'm seeing is where to test the theory, where you can apply this, that Because another dimension feels so abstract and intangible that it feels hard to press against. And I feel like Oda would write a mystery where there's places where we could check what we're.
Yes and no. Oda told you.
Leloucia.
There's Mirror World.
No, wait,
there's
wait,
Door World.
No, why is Leloucia just gone? Why can't the water fill that space in?
Yes. Where is it going to?
Why
Same
can't
with
the water fill that
somebody
space
just said
in?
that. Yeah.
Wait a minute. That's a place we can push this theory.
Same with that Ennie's lobby. There's just a hole.
Yep.
So where does it go? What is it?
Okay, so there are places we can test the theory where it still fits, which is a good sign. This is interesting. It's constant day at Ennie's lobby.
Yeah.
Holy shit, what if that's not an artificial sun? What if that's not an artificial sun and that's just locked in time like that?
Yeah.
Oh. This is more interesting than we thought, huh? Huh, gang?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh,
I wasn't here for it, and I'm getting there.
So now I'm wondering, because I'm telling you, I've got to go through those lyrics. I'm telling you right now that Oda is a crafty, crafty djinn. And that when I saw those lyrics and asked you to go backwards, I was like, no, there's something there.
If they're being teleported away instead of destroyed, it would also let the ancient kingdom and all the people that evaporated suddenly come back, which would be crazy. Like, because they wouldn't be, maybe they're not in another dimension, like they're still living there, but they're isolated, they're frozen in time. Like, that's why it's constant day. So they are just suddenly back. The world as it was returns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you.
I'm not convinced you're right. I am convinced this makes enough sense to be worth theorizing about and have as one of your theories.
Oh, I'm theorizing about it, even if you didn't think it is. That's what I do. This is what I'm trying to say. Somebody asked me in a comment, what are you going to do now, mama? Like, now that you're caught up and blah, blah, blah with your predictions. And I'm like, I was never reading it. I'm going to do the same thing I've always done. I'm going to put things together and just say things from what I think. You guys are just going to have to find out later if I went in a right or wrong direction, just like me. Instead of me not knowing, well, now nobody knows, baby.
Only Oda knows, and he watches and goes, fuck, what? No, you're not supposed to put it together. Okay, I always thought that the constant daylight was a result of the awakened Pika Pika no Mi. However, I also thought that the constant hole was an awakened Yami Yami no Mi, the darkness fruit. What this is making me think is I felt like they needed to be connected, the constant daylight and the hole. They become connected if this is a locking it out of time thing, and that's what the ancient weapon Uranus does. If that's what it does, then this actually does make a lot of sense.
Exactly. So if when things are hit, they're put in a different dimension, if they are separated and they become part of the thread that has been undone, and they go to that undone thread, a one piece could be reconnecting the worlds.
Interesting.
So now we just need to find a way to make it funny.
Yeah.
That's what's missing. So I think we can start playing with this idea, because I'm going to have more than one idea now, because you got to have more than one idea.
Oh yeah, you don't go all in on One Piece theory, I feel like.
Yeah. But this is one of my One Piece theories for sure. And it's based off this idea that he's saying, but that's an unnatural status. It's loathed by the sea, the mother of nature, a fitting punishment for its sin. Those with powers exist in different dimensions dreamed up by someone else before them. The someone else before them would be the 800, 900 years ago people who created the dimensions. We don't know why people have door dimension or mirror dimension, but somehow some fruits, because they're created by people's want, manages to infiltrate that dimension. And so those that exist in different dimensions were dreamed up by somebody before them, says that those people could have created that ability. And now some people are pulled apart and kept in that dimension. And then he says, such a fascinating world, which implies that it's same world, different dimensions.
This is interesting. This one, of all of your big theories for the world, this is the one I think I'd most like to be true. This one's very cool.
And it also makes a whole bunch of other things make sense. I'm going to have to read back and look for areas that could be true.
Can we recruit the people on stream and watching this VOD as detectives to help us look for alternate dimension evidence?
I love Sentomaru, and I hated Sentomaru. Do I mention that I hated Sentomaru? So remember when we were in Sabayoti and I hated Sentomaru? Now I'm like, oh, I feel very
Sentamaru's
sad.
so likable here. What a shitty day off.
I feel really bad for Sentamaru. Once again, we go back over it. The 5 elders, Dr. Vegapunk, Stella and the Satellites, Sentamaru and the Authority Chip. So once again, he's like, oh, I'm just going to give you another look at this. Chopper got replaced by Duplicate and nobody in universe has commented on it. I did. You can ask me, Mr. Bean. I'm right here. You can ask me. Yes, I hated Sentamaru a lot.
Yep. You did not like that,
But
man.
in my defense, Sentamaru was trying to kill the Straw Hats. And I am famously...
He was up to that at the time.
In the Don't Kill the Straw Hats team. Yep. One of my favorite panels, by far.
Yep.
In the history of by farness. Is when they are fighting. I'm just going to find it so I can just talk about it with more authority. I think we are told so much in these chapters. I think I should read them again and again. I think he's hidden shit right out there. And he's like, well, it's up to you if you're going to read. But I'm going to hide the shit in plain sight. If you don't respect my authority, you'll never know. Insolence! I only followed my orders, nothing more. You know what? Not Boa. Shut up. You need to shut your cake hole too. There's a lot of cake hole flapping where there should be a lot of cake hole shutting.
From Boa and Bonnie.
Actually, from just a lot of people. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's go to chapter 1071. It is killing me that I can't talk about all the other chapters too.
Yeah.
You heard me. Oh, I talked about Kuma walking up the red line when he hadn't got there yet. Sorry,
Hey,
people who weren't caught up.
He was going up the red line for anime people, don't worry.
Oh, was he? Okay, good. Because I felt a little bad about that when I saw that. Who dares to disturb my nap? That's Roronoa Zoro, acting like the troll under the bridge. See, here she is again. Can you turn my father back or not? Like, let's just look at this page so you can get an idea of why I want to punch her in the cake hole. Stop it, Bonnie! I'm in a hurry right now, but I promise I will explain it to you if you would just let me speak. What's her response? Shut up! Can you turn my father back or not? Those are your only 2 options. Then no, I can't. I'm sorry, but there's a good reason. Bonnie, how about you just shut up? Remember when I asked you to shut up? A stretch of the sea in the New World. This island is home to the Island of Giants. I hope we go to Elbaf. I hope we do.
It is nearby.
I really hope we go there. I hope we don't make the mistake of trying to kill people and going to the bottom of the water, kid. Like, what the shit, man? You just did such great things. I just stopped hating you.
Rest in pieces, kid pirates.
Not funny, but also funny. When Bonnie then pretends to be small and sad and then beats the shit out of him and does the exact same thing we just saw Baby Hancock do, I was like, Oda, come on, get a new thing. And then she's like, oof, curse you. This shining material is supposed to be my age, and then makes him all young. You said there's a good reason. Let's hear it. Why did you kill my father? Oh, now, Bonnie? Now? Now you want to hear it? Now?
Yeah, now that he's cornered.
Now that he's a tiny baby and he would have told you anyways a minute ago and you could have just listened. Instead, you had to hit him and take him back to his babyhood first, which won't at all. It's not at all stopping the progress of, say, I don't know, the entire egg island not dying and people escaping by you having to take up all the time of this person.
Let's be honest, probably wasn't made harder for York to capture Vegapunk that he was a toddler.
Yeah, exactly. Well done. Well done.
I don't think York was like, oh no, how am I going to capture Vegapunk? Instead of an adult man, he's a toddler.
He's a toddler. So then she decides to listen to him now instead of earlier, which is, something. And then she's like, the decision to take away his free will came from none other than Kuma himself. We know that. You're a liar. My father. Yes, he would. It was hard for me too. I don't even want to remember. We all knew this was coming. Kuma, great man, obviously. Say it. I can't accept a useless answer like that one. That's based on faith. Oh, God's sakes. Don't play with that, Bonnie. It's not what you think. That is nothing in there but pain. You know what, Bonnie? Why don't you just crawl into it, honestly?
So the anime had an extended 2-minute sequence of Bonnie screaming and crying within this memory running to try to get to Kuma while he was savagely beaten by a bunch of silhouette people. Like, it is genuinely fucking heartbreaking, this sequence in the anime, because it is 2 straight minutes of a child being beaten while his future daughter runs and cries to try to save him.
Well, that's kind of well done.
It was actually fucked up. Like, it felt like it was so much, and Bonnie as a framing device made it way worse because there is a little girl watching her father as a child beg for death while being beaten. It's fucked up. I actually cried.
That sounds terrible and good. Oh, once again, we get another list of the people who can stop it, and there's the 5 elders. I love that our giraffe is become awakened. There's nothing quite as powerful as an awakened giraffe.
You know what's funny about this whole giraffe sequence that happens right now? This is the 2nd time in the series that Stussy has drank a giraffe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember, she was at Big Mom's wedding, and one of the things Smoothie was serving was a giraffe.
It was a giraffe. And
so, some epic foreshadowing.
She's a clone of Miss Buckingham Stussy, Rock's Pirates.
Yep, which I think is fucking great. It's a fun
Which
reveal.
Is wild. It's also wild that this world has things like basically just vampires.
I mean, it's a devil fruit.
It's still a vampire.
It is a vampire, yes.
Listen to me, Drock. I'm gonna tell you a secret.
Your secret.
We did it. We read all the things I've read.
We got 25 minutes to do our closing segments.
Not really, though.
We already talked about all the cutting around. Can we talked a bit about it. Shanks' attack is awesome, right? We agree?
Oh, Shanks' attack is incredible. Some people are going to be all pissed off about it. Let me just say 3 things. Number 1, Shanks has future sight, knew that he was going to kill his friends, so you got to die.
No holding back. 2, sorry, buddy. It kind of hypes up Kid, though, because it shows that in just 10 seconds, he was about to annihilate most of a fleet. That's fucking wild. I think that
does
gives
actually hype him
a little
out.
Bit of cred.
But also, kind of amazing, because it shows how powerful Shanks is. Like, that level of power is wild. And then number 3, you're talking about a person who is left being a dragon, or a celestial dragon. And so, like, when he does something, he does it for the greater good. So you have to have faith in the fact that this was something that was done for the greater good of humanity. And therefore, kill away, except for one little problem. I am very sad about his choice. I wish he didn't try to do what he did.
You wish Kid hadn't gone at him?
It was just so stupid.
Kid, you needed help to beat an emperor. Stop pretending you're good enough. I mean, but that's the whole thing in One Piece. One Piece is a world where if you say, I'm not good enough, you'll never be good enough.
You won't be good enough. But
But
it's also the place where Luffy specifically says, we are not ready for that. You can choose not to do something. Like, you can't do it if you say you're not good enough, but you should also be able to tell, that's not our fight yet.
Like,
we ain't there
yet.
yet.
Luffy didn't try to beat up Big Mom with only a fraction of his crew there.
Yeah, Luffy wasn't like, just a minute, we need to fight Kaido. Can I have almost no help?
I'd like to go solo. Give me the fisticuffs. I also will stand by. I think, fully, no exaggeration, my new favorite attack in the entire series is Galaxy Impact.
Really? Okay,
What's cooler than Galaxy Impact?
Okay. I'm going to stand by that my coolest attack, the thing I think is coolest attack is when you pick somebody up and then you spin them around and around and around while they're like, let's talk about this.
You make him a pizza pie, you pizza pie an admiral.
It's so funny when cartoon Luffy grabs him and spins him around and around.
Well, you're not wrong.
I don't. It's so funny.
I don't even think it counts as a theory that the admirals are immortal, or sorry, not the admirals, the elders. I've literally never thought of it as a theory, but it's something I believe. It just feels self-evidently true, and I can't explain why.
But people argue it. I
People will
talked
be
to a
like,
kid
no, they're
about
not.
this.
It doesn't feel like an elected position. It feels like they've been
I
the same
talked to a
elders
kid
forever.
about this who's from Japan, who is a fan, and they were like, no, they're not immortal, blah, blah, blah. And they're just getting power off of Emu. And I was like, no,
I don't know
even
why.
if that was true, they're still immortal. They've done something dark.
I've literally never considered it a theory. The second the immortality operation came up, I was like, okay, so these dudes have been around forever. And it wasn't like, oh, this is a brilliant theory I have. That's just, it's always felt like that's what is the case. And I've never felt the need to describe it because I thought we all just like believed that.
But we don't. So there you go.
I feel the same way about it that I feel about Luffy dying at the end of the series. It feels like, wait, do we not all just think that? Did we not? Okay.
But that's also a theory, and lots of people don't agree with you there.
Vegapunk is another old man who tried to both extend his life and not by making himself multiple people. It's a strange one.
Are you saying you think that the planets are just other aspects of Emu?
Oh, that's another separate theory. Someone in chat was just bringing up another old man facing death as Vegapunk.
True enough, but he's not an old man in a boat.
No, he's not in a boat. Well, he wants to be in a boat. The whole plot of the arc is getting that old man on a boat. Holy shit! The entire story, the entire arc is about trying to get an old man in a boat to save him.
Pirates on the boat. Pirates on the fucking boat. Pirates on the boat.
All of the old men, yes.
The entire plot of the arc is trying to put an old man in a boat to save him. The entire plot is Garp's story. Garp's story is Egghead Island.
Yes.
And the lesson is probably going to be that the people he inspired matter more, or maybe that means his satellites. I don't know.
I really think that I'd love it if one of the planets died. I think it would be a bit much.
If one of them could be permanently wounded, that would be enough for me to feel like, oh, they got damaged.
Yeah, it'd be wild, even if we're going to be honest. It would be wild if we managed to damage one.
Mm-hmm.
But there were 3 types of old men we're trying to get on boats. One who is gladly willing to give up his own life for the future. One who will never give up his life for the future because he believes that he's too important to ever be gone and just wants power. And one who believes that it's not cheating death if he separates himself and he's helping the future.
But also,
so he needs to live to help the future.
But also Vegapunk risked his life and put himself in this situation for the sake of the future, or for at least knowledge.
Yes, because that's why he says he believes that he needs to be there. But I don't think he believes he needs to be there permanently, because he did say that his invention could eventually be a collective knowledge for the world.
We did not talk about Sol and Ohara. Quickly, that's cool, right? That Sol is alive and Ohara is protected by Vegapunk?
What's more cool is that the books, remember earlier, I also did say the books would come back in and somebody saved him. To find out that it was Elbaf was so cool. Give me stars! Give me stars for Kuma, give me stars from this, and then throw in an extra star for Spice.
Should we get to our closing segments now?
Yes, we should. Are you ready?
Who's the top 2 drip? Let's start there. Let's start with the drip. This is a drippy arc. Here's some crazy outfits.
I'm going to make the top 2 drippy people honestly be Luffy and Robin.
Interesting. Mine would be, I don't know if, mine would probably be Zoro and Usopp at this point, but God, it's hard.
Zoro is so cool. I love that he gave a nod to Astro Boy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was incredible.
All right, let's do our least favorite character. Who do we hate?
Who do we hate the most? I think my least favorite character is your favorite character. Not just because she's greedy, because she's a coward, and I hate cowards. I despise a coward. And the fact that she was like, "Come save me," I was like, "You're dead to me. Cut her neck, slit her neck, and let's be done with it." I hate a coward.
All right. Top 5 characters of the arc.
Not her.
Oh wait, Luffy. Luffy's tier list of Luffy.
Okay, Luffy's tier list of Luffy he's just S tier. Yeah, he's a solid S tier. He takes on a I'm sorry, I was just thinking about him spinning dude around again. Cause is it Kazuro? What's his name?
Kizaru.
Kizaru. And he slams them all around, and that's funny as shit.
Oh, and minor character. We got to do minor character also.
So that's a really hard call because there's not a lot of tiny characters in this one.
I'm going to just say minor characters and you can say what you think. The member of Kid's pirate crew who really quickly surrendered so that Kid wouldn't die.
That was a really good act, but no.
The lady who whipped the buildings.
No.
Prince Groose.
No.
The medical people who took care of Sentimaru.
No.
Helmeppo.
I think it's Beppo.
Fair. Beppo's up there. Not a huge character in this arc. You know who also is weird, who
They're
I would
right.
actually pick?
They said Beppo, and I immediately thought of Beppo changing into his other thing, and I was like, oh my god, that was incredible.
You know who I would shockingly pick?
Almost. Wapple seeing
Wapple's
Emu.
almost? It's a shock.
Wapple seeing Emu. Go ahead.
It's a shock, but the character I would pick for favorite minor myself, and now that we're this close, I want to start joining these a little bit more because this is so recent for me that I feel it. Perona. Perona went out of her way, broke into Hachinosu to save her captain. Yeah. That's kind of great.
I love that for Perona. I was proud of her. I was like, you know what, woman? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that, but mine's still Beppo.
Top 5 characters of the arc.
Number 4 is going to be surprising.
Okay.
Cross Guild together.
I think that's fair. The Cross Guild 3. Hell yes.
Yeah. Number 1 most interesting character in this one is Emu.
This is for your top 5. This is because I get like it's because of interesting is what you're saying. I like that. That's interesting. Yes. Okay.
Like, do I hate Emu?
Yeah.
100%.
But decides to blow up an island on a whim because it's close is wild. Yeah.
Like that was like
it's so like childish that it's scary.
Yes. And so it really changes a whole bunch of things. We know the vindictiveness will use big powers when they want to. So if they had the bomb available, they'd use the bomb.
Yep.
I also looking at Emu, seeing Emu's eyes, thinking about who Emu might be, made me think maybe a corrupt Joy boy, maybe a corrupt Joy girl.
We'll see. We'll see.
Number 3 is Dr. Vegapunk.
Okay. Hell yes. The
all of them,
body, all of them. Yeah,
all of them together as an idea, except for one of them who's greedy
left out.
And whose throat I've slit.
Oh my fucking god.
Number 5 is Kuma.
Okay.
Because not a lot going on with Kuma yet, but I can see that I'm about to the Kuma world is about to blow.
Just for intrigue, Kuma's in there.
Yeah. Okay, even though number 2, Kuma. I'm sorry that your daughter is not great. On top of everything else I think you're about to go through according to my predictions being correct.
And
what are you suggesting?
Someone suggested Garp for number 2.
Oh, that's actually a really good point.
I have
my
not
bad.
Seen Black.
It is. It's simply Garp.
2.
And the only reason, no, you know what? You want to know what I need to do something?
What's that?
We're going to move Emu down to 2 and put Garp at 1. There's no way I'm letting Emu be on a list with Garp and be at number 1. Screw you, Emu.
Yeah. I told you'd come around to Garp one day.
In fact, if you wouldn't mind, let's just keep lowering Emu down to the bottom, even though we all know that it was the most interesting thing to me, and put him at number 5 and move everyone up, just because fuck you, Emu.
Everybody, we had fun here. Are you so excited for next week when you're gonna have guys, we have a thing that's incredibly important. If you're watching the VOD, this is important. If you're watching live, this is important. I, for the first time since Odin's flashback, am not going to read the spoiler scanlations the moment I can. Instead, Mama and I are going to together read the most recent chapter next Sunday.
Together on here once.
I think at the beginning, before we start, we're immediately going to read it together. So if you hold off with us, we can all read it together, which I think is going to be very fun. Although,
but I can't even believe we're going to be reading together, and I'm going to be caught up.
It's going to be a new chapter, and there's a chance it's the end of Egghead. Like, I think there's 2 more by the vibe of it. It could be the last chapter, reasonably.
Oh my god, I'm so excited, guys.
It's amazing.
In less than a year.
Well, I'm not doing the sign off because today I'm sticking around. But until next time, folks, it's been lovely talking to you.